Twin Day, which means let's go. Welcome aboard. My name is Paul, and I'm going to be your safari guide today. Now, take a look up on view. That is our animal spotting guide. Those are all of the animals we have here on the reserve. Now, we won't be able to see all of them, but do always keep your eyes peeled. You never know what we're going to find out there. We do also ask for your safety that you remain seated at all times. We are going to go through some very narrow spaces with thicket of brush and thorns. The truck can and will jolt from side to side very suddenly because these roads are pretty rough. So please do remain seated even if the truck is stopped because you never know when we are going to resume motion. As we enter the reserve, we are going to become guests in these animals' homes. Just as you would not want to be disturbed in your own home, we do ask that you do not disturb these animals in theirs. Please do not catcall, snap, clap, or whistle at the animals. You will frighten them away, and that does ruin the picture for everyone. So sit back and relax and enjoy the stunning beauty that is the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. We are here in the Little Aturi Forest, which is home to many shy and reclusive forest-dwelling animals. Now, they are going to use their natural colors and patterns as a form of camouflage against predators, but that does also mean that they may try to hide from us. Now, should a predator come by, many of these animals will run directly back into the forest to hide in the thick underbrush. Now, we are going to spot across the way. On the left-hand side, we might be able to get another spot at it. It is going to be a black rhino. Now, black rhinos, reclusive and solitary, can weigh up to 3,000 pounds and charge at up to 35 miles an hour. Now,
where are
there's going to
they?
be one on the hill, yes. Now, rhinos are critically endangered. There are less than 5,000 left in the world, and that's because they've been poached for their horns. Many people think that they have scientific or medicinal qualities, but they are in fact just made of keratin. Let's see if we can't spot it coming up around this hill. They do enjoy hiding in all of the dense underbrush, so we may not be able to get a chance to see it again. Not totally, our safari journey has only just begun. We are going to head right out of the forest into the next section of the reserve.
They got bamboo on the right. Concrete, you know, that's something common. You can see those are what we call mirrors. They're easy to see, and it helps with This is where we bathe.
Now we are leaving the forest and heading into a border territory known as the Sava River. Now the Sava River is going to be home to some pretty big and powerful animals. Many of them are going to spend the majority of their day under the water. So we may have to look just a little extra hard to try to find them.
Where are they?
Who was a big one over here?
Earlier, yeah. No, igual que hoy. Yeah.
You're in the water.
Yeah.
You're in the water.
Now we are going to find on the left-hand side a hippopotamus. Now the hippo is actually considered one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Because a full-grown adult male hippo can weigh up to 5,500 pounds. They are also extremely territorial, which is what makes them so incredibly dangerous. Now they are going to spend the majority of their day under the water, usually to help regulate their body temperature, but they will come up out of the water during the nighttime to graze along the riverbanks. They're going to spot on the island some pink-back pelican. Pink-back pelican get their name from the pink back that they sport during mating season. They do also have a very impressive wingspan of 7 to 9 feet.
That is so cute. Where? That must be Daddy.
That must be you.
Oh, yeah.
Now we are going to find on the left-hand side some Nile crocodile. Now the Nile crocodile will average 16 feet, 500 pounds. Their jaws are strong enough to crush bone. Now while they do mostly eat fish, they have been known to attack anything from a porcupine to a zebra to a smaller hippo to even other crocodiles. Now, hippos and crocodiles don't have very many, if any, natural enemies. Instead, it's going to be plastics being introduced into the water supply that is going to hurt them the most. By not recycling plastic, they'll end up in oceans and riverways around the world, hurting and even killing these animals. But by recycling plastic and also making sure that we're keeping single-use plastic far away from our daily lives, we can help stop that vicious cycle. Now, a really good example would be instead of using the plastic lids and straws that come in disposable soda cups, we can drink right out of the paper cup instead. Scientists have estimated that by 2050 there will be more plastic straws in our oceans than actual aquatic animals. So by not using those straws, we can go and save so many different species of animals. We are going to find on the right-hand side a tree called a baobab tree. Now, it's also known as the upside-down tree or the tree of life. It's going to remain leafless for about 9 months out of the year, storing all of that water inside its fantastic-looking trunk. There actually have been baobab trees with recorded ages of nearly 2,000 years old. Now, we are just about to enter the savanna, which is home to some of the most iconic animals that we may think of. Now, we are going to descend right on down to as up close and personal with as many of these animals as we can find from a safe distance, of course. Now, there may be a time when an animal is just simply too close to the road for me to be able to safely stop for it. But I will go as slowly past it as I can, provided that we do remain seated and that we don't try to touch the animals or the foliage in any way. Now, the savanna is going to be an ever-changing environment. Grazing animals will act like lawn mowers, keeping the grass nice and short as they migrate through. Giraffes are going to act like garden shears, pruning the undersides of the trees to keep them nice and kept, and then any of the down branches of the tree is going to be made by a rhesus or by an elephant. On the right-hand side, we're going to find two female Patterson's elands. Now, I can tell that they're females because the males can actually stand about 6 feet tall at the shoulders. We're also going to find a giraffe over here on the right-hand side. The tallest animal in the world, they can reach a height of 18 to 20 feet. Now, they are going to spend the majority of their day eating and will really only sleep for about a half an hour a day, and they'll most likely do that standing up so they can better get away from predators. Now, we are going to find some very cute little tiny animals on the right-hand side called springbok. Now, springbok get their name from their ability to spring 6 feet up in the air when excited or frightened. They do also make the top 10 fastest land animals, as they can run at a speed of up to 55 miles an hour. Now, they are going to... Well, their color scheme sort of goes graham cracker, dark chocolate, and marshmallow, which essentially makes them s'mores with legs. And I do think that that makes them just the more cute.
They're gone.
There's dogs on the side.
I thought you were saying last time.
Yeah.
I don't see them. They may be over there.
There's an elephant?
Wow.
Please keep your hands and arms inside the safari vehicle.
No, there's a dog. There's a dog. Where?
Oh, it's lying down.
It looks like we're going to pass by another giraffe on the left-hand side. Also, we're going to pass through a herd of wildebeest. Now, wildebeest get their name from Afrikaans, meaning wild beast. Although in Swahili, they are known as G-N-U, after the sounds that they make. Now, wildebeest will gather in herds of up to 1.5 million. For the Great Migration, will travel about 500 to 1,000 miles across the savanna in search of food and water. Now, it has been said that you can actually see the Great Migration from space. Now, wildebeest and humans do share one common trait, and that we are the only two animals on Earth that will gather in herds of up to that size. Now, for humans, you can think of a sporting event, a concert, or even a city. How many hundreds of thousands to millions of people are packed together into such a tiny space? The wildebeest is the only other one that will do it.
But if we compare wildebeest to humans, we just attack ourselves.
Look to your left, you'll see I get that out.
Got like a VIP tour.
Everybody wave. Look at all the wave. Yeah. Oh, I would have raised one of those. Oh, yeah.
Look at those horns.
Yeah, I know. I see it.
Now we're going to find some Ankole cattle on the right-hand side with the extra large horns. Now, Ankole cattle are also known as Watusi cattle after the people who domesticated them. They are the only domesticated animal on the reserve. Now, the horns that they have are neither solid nor hollow. There's actually a honeycomb-like structure inside that allows blood vessels to travel through and act like a personal air conditioning system. They are also seen as a symbol of wealth in many tribes and villages, so the more cattle you have, the more affluent you are seen to be.
It's a rainbow. Where's the rainbow?
It's in there.
Right there.
There's a giraffe to the left, guys. Really?
Oh, yeah, look at there.
Oh, yeah, there is. All right. VTech, okay. VTech coffee. We got an RPM coming in. This is where we peel up.
Now it does look like coming up ahead we are going to find an African elephant. Now, I can tell it's an African elephant because its ears will just loosely resemble the continent of Africa. Now, since it's alone, or at least seemingly alone, I'm going to go ahead and say that it's a male, because about 13 to 15 years of age, the male African elephant will leave the herd to lead a solitary bachelor's life. He may occasionally meet up with other bachelor elephants, but will remain almost completely alone. And that does mean that the herd of elephants will be comprised of exclusively adult females and their children. And they'll be led by the matriarch, the eldest female. Now, there did used to be a bridge here on the right-hand side. It was one of my favorite ways to get into elephant country. Now, I never could prove one way or the other whether it was a flood that took out the bridge or an elephant on accident. Either way, we do have to take this old service route, which is fine. It's a long and windy way. It's not really my favorite way to go, but now we have it forward, I suppose.
This bridge being held by tape.
I thought I made that sound last time. Uh-oh. Oh gosh, oh gosh. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, I think I'm off this bridge. Something else. And okay, we made it. I knew we would. I definitely wasn't nervous for a second. Wow, that was weird. Well, anyway, on the right and left-hand side, we are going to find red clay beds. Now, red clay is eaten by elephants to give them extra minerals if they don't get through the normal diets of vegetation. You can really see where the elephants have been digging out the clay. There's also a couple of footprints around. I wonder if we might be able to spot another couple of elephants. Now, elephants, as full-grown adults, can eat about 300 pounds of food per day. Now, in order to find the food that they need for nutritional value, or perhaps just something that they want to eat, they may have to travel several miles in order to find them.
Alright, guys. Jumping. 1, 2, 3. That man's hands are so unsleek. That's all. To the left, you'll go down and touch the wall. Look at the wall. It's going great. Progress.
They're not real? I was wondering.
Not really.
Okay, I thought, like, how did they plant them to come?
Oh, that's what they be.
I don't want to jump in. We got some ducks.
Now, on the left-hand side, we are going to find the greater flamingo. Now, the greater flamingo is the largest and lightest in pink of all flamingo species, but when they're born, they're not, in fact, pink. They are gray little fuzzballs. They get their pink color from the krill shrimp and other crustaceans they eat that are high in beta-carotene. That is the same beta-carotene that's found in carrots. Now, a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance.
Whoa. Did you just make that up? Yeah, man, you're looking pretty fine.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I like how their legs like bend back.
You see how one looks really short? Yeah. Like normal flamingos and then one short flamingo. That's you. But he's laying on his leg.
It's really hot out.
Or one for the whole weekend.
Now it does look like we are going to find a white rhino on the left-hand side. Now,
He's definitely orange. Right. You don't look white.
now, white rhinos get their name from the Afrikaans word vite or vit, and it doesn't actually mean white, it means wide. And they're talking about the wide rectangular mouth that they have that's really good at grazing the savanna grass. Now, white rhinos are about twice the size as a black rhino. Now, weigh about 5,000 pounds. They're also much more socially friendly. They do typically hang out in groups, although that one does seem pretty content with just being around on its own.
What do you think?
How much you weigh? 2,000 pounds?
How much does it weigh?
Oh, 500.
It was a 10 and a half.
No, it's
3,000 pounds.
Wow.
1,000.
That's crazy.
I know, I want to see the lion.
Now we are going to spot some cheetah on the left-hand side. Now the cheetah is going to be the fastest land animal in the world. They can reach a speed of about 60 miles an hour on average. Now the cheetah can only maintain that speed for a couple of hundred yards. They are sprinters, not long-distance runners. Now, they are the only big cat species to have non-retractable claws. That is, that their claws will remain out at all times. They are also the only big cat species that will purr like a domestic house cat, which is very cute, although they are still very dangerous.
Yeah. I just want the lion to be out.
Lion should be out. There he goes.
Now, we are going to find on the left-hand side that is going to be a lion. Now, the lion is nocturnal, so they're going to sleep for about 18 to 20 hours of their day. Now, they are led in a patriarchal society, so the male lion will be the one to lead the pride, but it will be the lionesses that will actually go out and do the majority of the hunting. The lioness, the male lion, please don't call to the animal. Like I said right at the beginning, do not call to the animals. The lionesses will be the ones to go out and do the majority of the hunting. The male lion will stay behind to guard the pride and basically act as an oversized babysitter for any cubs that they may have. The lion's roar can actually be heard for several miles. Now that does allow them to assert dominance and territory, but also to find other members of their pride.
There's usually a lioness out there.
I was looking up there because last time I was up there, I was like, oh, there's a lion. But we saw something, whatever it's called. Warhawk.
No, I don't see any ostriches at the moment, but I do know that those are ostrich eggs on the ground on the right. Now, ostrich eggs will average about 3 pounds each, which is about 2 dozen chicken eggs. Now, their shells are actually so strong that a full-grown human man could stand on top of them and they won't break. Now, that's because they do just sort of lay around in the savannah like that all day long. They may be disturbed on accident or kicked around, so they will need pretty strong shells to survive. This section of the reserve is called Magadi Glen. It is a beautiful green, lush space. Now the yellow-billed stork on the right-hand side does love hanging out around here. They have about a 5-foot wingspan. What's more curious about them is while they eat your standard frogs, fish, and lizards because they are carnivores, they do have a tendency to eat other small birds. Follow the dirt path on the right all the way back. You're going to find a scimitar horned oryx, a desert and arid dwelling animal naturally, though they are considered extinct in the wild. They have evolutionized to the point where they don't have to take a drink of water for up to 9 months. They do also have an increased sweating point of 115 degrees. They are very good at conserving water. Now it does look like we are reaching the end of our safari journey together. Now I really must emphasize how much these animals are in need of our help. Anything from just recycling your standard paper and plastic to even in your daily lives, making sure that the products you're looking to buy come from sustainable sources. That is that they are good for animals and habitats, but also that they were bought at fair trade prices, which means that the farmers and merchants were paid a fair and honest price per ounce or per pound of food. Here at Disney's Animal Kingdom, we do have the Disney Conservation Fund. Now at any merchandise shop or food and beverage location, you might be asked to round up to the dollar to help support the fund. Not only will Disney match your donation 100% penny for penny, dollar for dollar, but all of those proceeds go directly to conservation efforts around the world. And that's just one extra super simple way that we can help give back to save these animals. And we are getting back into the village, which is our final destination point. Make sure we are checking around to make sure that we do have everything that we came with. Now here in Harambe, we don't say goodbye because it is far too sad and final. Instead, we say Kwaherini, which means to go well. So to you, I do say Kwaherini. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Carl, and it has been my pleasure being your safari guide today.